Hello, everyone. I need to know, am I the idiot? Forgive the throwaway, but my main account is known by everyone from work to family. I know what I'm doing is right, but the people I respect and whose opinions matter to me are saying differently, and it's messing with me. Forgive the length of this, but I will try and put all the information I can in here. Me and Anna have been together for 5 years and engaged for 1. We were set to be married in October of this year. This woman is the love of my life. 2 weeks back, we had a couple of friends over at our house. One of the friends, Becky, was a high school friend of Anna's. As the night went on, we obviously got a bit drunk and the conversation went into all the weird stuff. The conversation landed on what is the deepest thing you regret. We all spoke, and Anna said her deepest regret is losing her virginity to her ex in high school and not to me. I did know this information, so that didn't bother me. Becky, who was a bit more tipsy, suddenly spoke up and called Anna a liar. A bit taken aback, I asked Becky why she would say something like that. I didn't even finish my sentences before Anna stood up and asked Becky to speak in private, but Becky refused. Becky then said Anna's biggest regret is the false essay accusations she made against her ex. Apparently, in high school, her ex dumped her out of the blue one day without a reason. She got angry and made false essay accusations against him. He was arrested, kicked out of school, and his family had to move states because his life was being threatened. He was also put on self-deleting watch, as he did try to end it. After Anna found out he tried to delete himself, she confessed that the accusations were fake. I actually got angry because Becky was attacking my fiancé's character. I didn't believe a word until I looked at Anna with tears rolling down her face. I asked her if it was true, and Anna ran into the house and locked herself in our room. After that, the party was over, and everyone left as the situation was awkward at best. It took me 4 hours to get Anna to leave our room and talk to me. She basically confirmed that everything Becky said was true, with minor differences. I didn't know what to do in that moment, so I let her cry on my shoulder. She just kept asking me to forgive her. After I got her to bed and started to think about what she actually did, I got disgusted, and the more I thought about it, the more disgusted I got. I couldn't sleep at all that night and just got angrier and angrier the more I thought about it. That information shattered my whole image that I had of her. How can someone do something like that to anyone? I'm going to be honest, after I heard her confirm what Becky had said to be true, it was like the love I had for her was being replaced with anger, the more I thought about what she did. That morning, I just avoided her every time she tried to talk to me. I couldn't look at her. I didn't want to hear her voice. Nothing. It was like this the whole day. After thinking about everything again Saturday night, I came to the decision to break up with her, because what she did is not just despicable, but what else has she lied about and is going to lie about? I refuse to live with that uncertainty in my life. Sunday morning, I sat her down and asked her again to tell me the story, and she stated the same story she told me Friday night. I told her I can't be in a relationship with her anymore. She broke down completely. All I could make out over her cries is the word sorry, over and over again. The rest was just mumbling. I wasn't in the best emotional state at that moment myself. This is the woman I wanted to marry. This is the love of my life. So I called her parents and mine as well. I told them we broke up, but didn't give a reason. I asked her parents to come and pick her up, and asked mine to come because I was losing it myself. Her parents got to my house first. Her mom went directly to her to comfort her, and her dad asked me what happened. As soon as I said the words, "She made false accusations," he stopped me and said he understood. He asked me if it was all right to grab a couple of her things. He went into our room and got some of her things. While he was packing her things, Anna just kept asking me to forgive her. On their way out, her father said he will be in touch to come get her other things at a later time. I know I make it sound quick and easy, but all of this took about 30 minutes. An hour later, my parents arrived at our house. As soon as I saw my father, I completely broke down. I couldn't even stand on my own feet. He had to keep a hold of me. I literally cried myself to sleep while my father was holding me. This was the first time I was able to sleep since Friday night. I woke up to my mom cooking dinner for us. The first question was from my father, who asked if I was okay, and I couldn't answer him. My mother then asked what happened, and I just started to cry again. It took me 10 minutes to get myself together enough to talk to them. I told them everything. They sat in silence with a look of complete shock on their faces. My mother asked if it was really true, and I told her Anna herself confirmed it. After that, we just sat in silence the whole night. Just my dad constantly checking in on me. Monday, I woke up to my dad missing and just my mom in the house. I asked her where my dad went, and she told me he left for their house but will be back soon. Luckily, my mom answered my phone that morning when my manager called because I was a no-show at work. I got 2 weeks off at least. My dad came back later that day with his and my mom's clothes and a couple of other things because they will be staying with me for a while. When I wanted to object, my father told me he doesn't want to hear it. Around 16 the same day, Anna's mother came to my house and wanted to speak to me. My mother didn't want her to even come into the house, but I agreed to talk to her. Apparently, Anna is in a bad way. She refuses to eat and is constantly crying. Her mother asked me if I could forgive her and possibly get back together with her. They will even pay for couples counseling if that is what I needed. My mother kicked her out of my house after that. I didn't even get a chance to respond. My phone from that Sunday has been blowing up from her, our friend, her mother, even some family members on both sides wanting me to reconsider our breakup, as she did nothing to me and this was in her past. Although true, I can't forgive something like that. She caused her ex to lose his life and nearly caused his death. If she can lie about something like that, what else can't she lie about? What else hasn't she lied about? Almost everyone I know has been harassing me and calling me heartless for not seeing her pain, calling me a jerk, and that I'm a piece of shit for holding something she did in her past over her head. That I never truly loved her if I can end things just like this. And it's starting to get to me. My parents are still at my house, so I asked my dad what he will do. He responded with one question: "Do you think you can forgive her?" When I said no, his response was, "Then that is the end of it. Everyone else can go screw themselves. So, am I the idiot?" Edit, just to clarify something that I see coming up in the comments. She was 18 at the time she made the false accusations. I don't know if she apologized to the guy. After they moved, they completely disappeared. I know his name and the names of his parents, but I can't find them on any social media. 6 months passed from the time she accused her ex to her confession. Update. First, thank you everyone. I do appreciate your support. The update won't be long, but something has happened in the last 2 days. I have found out what happened to the ex. I know I said I won't go looking for him, but he kept creeping into my mind. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. He took his own life at the age of 22. I found an obituary of him. I didn't contact his parents or anything, just some snooping on the internet from their old profile. I managed, by luck, to track them down through old friends and some family members. One of them posted his story after the essay on his profile. Someone found out about the essay accusations at his college and reported him. He was kicked out and got fired from his job, even though he was cleared, and he ended himself afterward. I don't know if my ex knows. I am also labeled as an aggressor now and being investigated by the police. I had to go and give a statement at the police station this morning. My ex reported me to the police for DV. I was also issued with a restraining order to not go near her. Don't want to anyway. My mother is furious. I have never heard my mother cuss, but she became a sailor when I told them what is going on. Even my dad was shocked. I explained everything to the police and gave them all the evidence I have so far, all the saved messages and voicemails. But they said the case cannot just be dismissed as they still have to do an investigation because apparently my ex has proof via photos of bruises on her body. I did ask from when and how, but the officer refused to tell me. Ongoing investigation and all that crap. I can, with full confidence, say I have never hurt her in any physical way other than a slap on the butt. Sorry for not giving a happy update. I thought this would have been done with. Luckily, I can say all thoughts of reconciliation are out the window and driven over by a truck. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. What she did was utterly vile. She weaponized a severely traumatic event many legitimate victims have to face in order to destroy the life of an ex, nearly ending the life of him. This shows a level of vindictiveness, deception, and selfishness that is concerning. Now the question is, has she changed or grown since that time? The fact she never told you about this, and even tried to silence her friend from doing so, suggests the possibility she has not. You have every reason to feel uncomfortable and angry, as well as every right to end the relationship as a result. Comment 2. Not the idiot. She lied to the cops and let her ex suffer for months before confessing. Frankly, that should follow her forever. I wrote someone off for lying about being attacked when she was just trying to manipulate her ex and get them back. Lying to the police takes it to a whole other level. It is never okay to lie about intimacy attack, ever. She knew that and did it anyway. You're doing the right thing. Who knows what she's actually capable of if she gets angry enough? Don't wait to find out. Now for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the situation with my ex-fiancée Anna and the fallout from her past false essay accusations. It's been a whirlwind few days and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. After my last post, things took a turn for the worse. I was already dealing with the news of her ex's passing and the false DV accusations she made against me. But then, out of nowhere, my phone started blowing up with messages from Becky, the one who spilled the beans at the party. She was apologizing profusely, saying she never meant for things to get this out of hand. She claimed she was just drunk and angry at Anna for something unrelated. I didn't know what to make of it, but I didn't have the energy to deal with her. Meanwhile, my parents were still staying with me, trying to help me keep it together. My mom was a rock, cooking and cleaning and just being there. My dad, well, he was doing his best to support me, but I could tell he was struggling with his own feelings about the whole mess. Then, 2 days ago, Anna's dad showed up at my door. He wanted to talk, man to man. I was hesitant, but I let him in. He told me that Anna was in a really bad place, that she was sorry for everything, and that she was getting help for her issues. He also dropped a news. Anna had been in therapy for years, dealing with guilt and trying to make amends for what she did to her ex. I had no idea. It didn't excuse her actions, but it did make me see her in a slightly different light. But the real shock came when he handed me a letter. It was from Anna's ex, the one she had falsely accused. He had written it to Anna before he passed away. In it, he forgave her. He said he had found peace and didn't want her to live her life in guilt. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It was like a punch to the gut. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, sadness, relief. It was all too much. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. My parents tried to talk to me, but I just couldn't. I was lost in my own head, trying to make sense of everything. Yesterday, things escalated even further. I got a call from my boss. He had heard about the DV accusations and wanted to hear my side of the story. I explained everything, and thankfully, he believed me. He said he'd support me through the investigation, but I could tell this was going to affect my job no matter what. And then last night, Anna's mom showed up, unannounced. She was a mess, crying and begging me to talk to Anna, to give her a chance to explain. I was firm, though. I told her I couldn't do it. That too much had happened, and I needed to move on. She left, but not before telling me that Anna was planning to move out of state, to start over and try to put everything behind her. I thought that would be the end of it, but no. This morning, I woke up to find my car had been vandalized. Someone had spray painted "abuser" all over it. I had a sinking feeling I knew who was behind it. The police came, took a report, but I doubt anything will come of it. So here I am, trying to pick up the pieces of my life. My ex is moving away, I'm dealing with a police investigation and potential job issues, and I'm just tired. Tired of the drama, the lies, and the pain. My brother betrays me, so I cut him off. But parents beg me to forgive until his wife texts me. She's leaving him for cheating with a church lady, and now I'm torn. What to do? First off, before I start with the update, I just want to thank the people who responded to my post. Though some of you were very intent with me getting back at my brother with violence and to cut him off, I know your hearts were in the right place, but I do want to clear some stuff up. I wasn't trying to paint my parents as the bad guys in my last post. They actually forgave him a couple of years before they even announced C was pregnant. I also believe that nothing would have come from me beating my brother into a pulp besides me probably going to jail and causing rifts in the family. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the update. I sat my mom and dad down with my brother in my parents' living room and finally told all of them how I felt. I told them that what my brother did was unforgivable, not the type of unforgivable that means I'll hate him for the rest of my life, but the type of unforgivable that means that I want utterly nothing to do with him because I don't want a relationship with someone who could sleep with a friend's girlfriend behind his back, much less his brother. That's not the type of person I want to be around. My brother tried to make a rebuttal by saying that he changed and would never do it again. He said it like he didn't marry and have the child of the girl I told him I wanted to marry. I then asked my parents how they were able to forgive him, and they said that they were really disappointed in him for a while. But when he got saved and started preaching, they forgave him since he turned a new leaf. I then asked, would they still forgive him if they were in the same position as me, and they said that they would have forgiven him eventually, which I don't believe at all. Anyway, we just went back and forth for a while until my brother said that I shouldn't be holding grudges. I then told him that he shouldn't be sleeping with other people's girlfriends. He then looked at the ground and started to cry. My mom said that what I said is too harsh since he had already repented for his sins. I then gave them the ultimatum most of you told me to do, that they could either accept the fact I want nothing to do with him and move on, or I would cut them off along with him and his family. My dad then said that I would die with regret if I don't forgive my brother. I then asked if that was their final answer, and my mom said fine. She said they will come to terms with me not wanting to be in my brother's life. I then asked my dad if that was how he felt too, and he said yeah. I then thanked them for their time, looked at my brother, and told him that no matter what he does, there is nothing that he could do that could get me to spend time with him, and told him to have a good life. I then walked out and drove to get some In-N-Out and went to bed. That whole conversation was really mentally and physically draining, so I basically passed out a couple of seconds after hitting my bed. The next day, I decided to download some dating apps to try dating again to really move on from this whole situation. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. OP, I'm sorry that you had to go through all of that. Your parents and your brother never should have expected you to just get over it. You need to heal in your own time, and if they couldn't accept that, then doing what you did was the best course of action for you. Don't give up. You'll find the right partner. Comment 2, I would end with, maybe you repented. Maybe you really changed. But never forget that the person you married and have a child with cheated with someone's sibling. I wish you a long life, always looking over your shoulder, always wondering when she is going to cheat on you. Plant that seed. Now for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've got some major updates for you all. After the intense conversation with my family, I thought things would settle down, but boy was I wrong. The day after the family showdown, I was swiping through a dating app, trying to distract myself from the drama. I matched with this girl, let's call her Jenny, and we hit it off right away. We chatted for a bit and decided to meet up for coffee. Little did I know, Jenny was actually a friend of my brother's wife, C. I didn't realize it until we were sitting down and she casually mentioned how she knew C from college. My heart sank. It felt like the universe was playing some cruel joke on me. I kept my cool though and didn't let on how messed up the situation was. Jenny was nice, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was too close for comfort. I ended the date early, saying I had some personal stuff to deal with. She seemed understanding, but I could tell she was confused. Back at home, I couldn't stop thinking about the coincidence. Was it really just chance, or was something else going on? My mind raced with possibilities. I decided to call my best friend, who's been with me through thick and thin since we were kids. He's the kind of guy who always has my back, no matter what. We talked it out, and he suggested maybe my brother was trying to mess with me again. It sounded paranoid, but after everything that's happened, I couldn't rule it out. The next day, my brother called me out of the blue. He said he heard about my date with Jenny and wanted to clear the air. He claimed it was all a coincidence and that he had no idea she knew me or was connected to C. I didn't know what to believe. My brother has always been a smooth talker, the kind of guy who could sell ice to Eskimos, but I've also seen him lie through his teeth when it suited him. We argued on the phone for a while. He kept insisting he was a changed man, but I couldn't get past the betrayal. It was like every word he said just reopened old wounds. I ended the call by telling him to stay out of my life for good. That evening, my parents called. They were upset about the whole situation and wanted us to reconcile. They reminded me of how we used to be inseparable as kids, always getting into mischief together. They talked about the time we built a fort in the backyard and camped out for a whole weekend, just the two of us against the world. It was hard to hear. I missed those days, but things were different now. My mom pleaded with me to give my brother another chance, saying family should stick together. My dad echoed her sentiments, but I could hear the strain in his voice. It was clear this was tearing them apart too. I told them I needed space to think and hung up. The next day I was at work, trying to focus on my job, when I got a text from C. She said she wanted to talk, that it was important. I debated not responding, but curiosity got the better of me. We agreed to meet at a park after work, somewhere public where things couldn't get too heated. When I saw her, my stomach knotted up. She looked different somehow, more mature. She got straight to the point. She told me she was sorry for everything and that she never meant to hurt me. She said she understood if I couldn't forgive her, but she needed me to know she regretted what happened between her and my brother. I listened, not saying much. It was a lot to take in. I had so many questions, but I wasn't sure I wanted the answers. Before I could say anything, she dropped another bombshell. She told me she was leaving my brother. She'd caught him cheating with another woman from their church. It was like deja vu, except this time I wasn't the one being betrayed. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me felt vindicated, like this proved I was right about my brother all along. But another part of me felt sorry for C. Despite everything, I didn't wish that kind of pain on anyone. C left after that, and I was alone with my thoughts. It was a lot to process. My brother's marriage was falling apart, and somehow I was in the middle of it again. I went home and tried to distract myself with a movie, but I couldn't focus. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, asking if I was okay. I didn't know how to answer. Son's girlfriend shows up hurt, and I discover my son did it. So I fight him to teach him a lesson, and she presses charges while we clean up our act, and I start therapy to break the cycle. People of Reddit, I need some advice and judgment. I am a 49-year-old man, a single father of 3 children. My wife passed away from cancer when my oldest was 13. It was very difficult for me to raise them, as I would work 12 to 16-hour shifts and would not be home most of the time. I was thankful that my kids were strong and independent. Let me provide some background information about myself. I grew up in a hurtful household. My dad would physically abuse my mom and also beat my siblings and me. I have 4 younger siblings, 3 of whom are girls. Being the oldest, I would try to take the beatings for them. When I was old enough and strong enough, I stood up against my father. I did so as many times as I needed to, never letting him lay his hands on them. My father eventually went to prison for battery, and we moved to a different state. My children's current ages are 24, son, 21, daughter, and 17 daughter. My daughters still live with me as they are attending college, but my son has moved out and established his own life. He has a girlfriend whom I have met, and I genuinely like her. She is a sweet, loving, and gentle girl who reminds me of my wife when she was younger. I often invite my son and his girlfriend over for lunch and dinner. They have been dating for 3 years now, and she would sometimes come over to help my daughters with college stuff or just hang out with them. I consider her as part of our family and have expressed this to her. 4 weeks ago, she came over, and when I opened the door, The first thing I noticed was that she had a busted lip, a black eye, and her eye appeared to be bleeding. I immediately took her in and offered my help. My daughters were also concerned when they saw her, and when we asked her what happened, she told us that my son was the one who caused her injuries. It broke my heart to hear that, and I hugged her tightly, begging for her forgiveness. She shared her story with us and apologized for not telling us sooner. This was not the first time he had hit her. I asked her if she had informed her parents or the police, and she said that we were the first people she felt comfortable going to. It brought me to tears. I reassured her that she was safe with us and urged her not to worry. I asked my daughters to prepare a spare bedroom for her as she would be staying with us. Words cannot adequately describe how I felt, but I'm sure you can imagine. I spent hours just staring at the black screen of the TV, looking at my reflection. A few days after she came to us, I invited my son over for dinner. I had her consent, and she was aware of my intentions. My son arrived, and I instructed my daughters to stay in their rooms and pretend they weren't home. She joined them in their rooms. When my son knocked on my door and I saw him again, I felt sick and angry, but I maintained my composure and we sat down to eat. I couldn't help but notice the scrapes and marks on his hands and knuckles. I asked my son some basic questions, trying to appear normal and pleasant. However, the whole time I didn't see him as my son anymore. I saw him as my father, and I didn't like that feeling. He acted as if everything was fine until I asked him about his relationship with his girlfriend. He choked on his food for a moment and then told me, "Everything is fine. She's just busy with work and I haven't seen her in a while." I simply nodded and said, "Oh, that's nice. I'm glad she's doing okay." We finished eating and I washed the dishes. Standing right next to him, I asked why he was beating his girlfriend and told him, "I think it's about time you stop lying to me about your girlfriend." He asked me what I was talking about, and I told him to stand up and put his hands up. I let him know that I was aware of everything and that I was going to show him what it feels like to be the weaker person. Before he could say another word, I swung at him, fully intent on teaching him what it feels like to be beaten, just as he had done to his girlfriend. I told him to keep his hands up and defend himself. We fought, but I made sure I would be the last one standing. I asked him how it felt to be weak, to be on the receiving end of such violence. He pleaded with me to stop, but I asked him if he stopped when his girlfriend begged him to. I continued beating him until his girlfriend came downstairs and screamed at me to stop. He looked horrified upon seeing her. I told him that he was fortunate she hadn't told her father, because her father would have made him suffer worse consequences, and that he was lucky no one had informed the police, as people in jail or prison do not take kindly to men who abuse women. I informed him that he was lucky I wasn't ending him like the animal he is. I expressed to him how deeply disgusted I felt being the father of a man who beats his girlfriend, and from this point forward, he was no longer a part of our family and needed to get out of my house immediately. I told him that he was a disappointment to everyone in this household. Watching him leave reminded me of how she had come to me. I threw him some napkins and told him to clean himself up on his way back to whatever wretched place he came from. I cried as soon as he limped out of the front door. I told his girlfriend that it was her choice to move forward, and I would support her regardless. If she chose to stay with us, she was more than welcome. If she chose to continue her relationship with him, then I would be conducting random welfare checks. I expressed how sorry I was that she had to experience such a horrific ordeal, and I blamed myself for it. It has been a few weeks now, and it wasn't until recently that I realized I had a broken nose. However, I'm okay with that. She chose to end the relationship with him and has been staying with us. I feel terrible. I keep seeing the red stains on the couch and carpet, questioning whether I did the right thing or if there were other options. I no longer have a son, and that pains me. I don't know if I made the right decision. I've been aimlessly staring at my reflection on the TV. Am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I say not the idiot. He deserved to walk a mile in her shoes. But I also think you should see a therapist. This is a traumatic event, and one with long-term implications that will affect your family life and relationships within your family going forward. It is also an event that is going to cause a lot of your trauma from your childhood to resurface. It would be really good to go talk to someone. For what it's worth, it sounds like you totally lost control. What would have happened if his ex-girlfriend hadn't stopped you? Would you have beaten him into the hospital? Death? Please talk to someone and get past that anger. Comment 2. I don't think this is a situation to pass judgment. It's just tragic all around. The important part is she's safe now. That, I think, is the only takeaway. Beyond that, it's complicated, and there really are no right answers. I don't judge you for what you did, and I can empathize. Maybe it was the right choice, and maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but I would ask you one question that I think you need to answer for yourself. Were you beating your son that day, or were you beating your dad? Because until you know the answer, it's going to be very hard to move forward. Now for the update. Hey Reddit. It's been 3 days since I last posted about the situation with my son and his now ex-girlfriend. I've got some updates for you, and let me tell you, it's been a hectic ride. First off, let me fill you in on some history that I didn't mention before. My son, he was always a good kid growing up. He was the kind of boy who would stand up for his sisters, help out around the house, and he was so full of life and laughter. After his mom passed, something in him changed. He became more withdrawn, and I guess I was too caught up in my own grief and work to see the signs. I always thought he was just dealing with the loss in his own way. Now, back to the present. After the confrontation with my son, things were tense at home, and my daughters were shaken up by everything that had happened. They had looked up to their brother, and seeing him turn into someone we didn't recognize was hard on them. The house felt different, like a dark cloud was hanging over us. The ex-girlfriend, let's call her Anna, has been staying in the spare room. She's been quiet, mostly keeping to herself, but my daughters have been doing their best to support her. They've been taking her to her classes and making sure she's not alone. It's been tough on them, but they're strong girls, just like their mother was. 2 days ago, something unexpected happened. My son showed up at the door. He was a mess, bruises still on his face, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. I didn't want to let him in, but he was still my son, and I couldn't turn him away completely. We sat on the porch, and he broke down. He told me he was sorry that he didn't know what had gotten into him, and that he needed help. He said he was scared of turning into our father. That hit me hard. I realized then that the cycle of abuse was trying to repeat itself, and I had almost let it. I told him that if he was serious about getting help, I would support him, but he couldn't stay with us. He agreed and asked if he could see Anna to apologize. I was hesitant, but Anna agreed to talk to him. They had a long conversation in the backyard while I watched from a distance. There were tears, and it was clear they were both hurting. Anna decided to press charges against my son. It was a tough decision for her, but she said she needed to do it, not just for herself, but for any other girl he might end up with in the future. My son accepted it. He said he deserved it and that he would take responsibility for his actions. He's now staying with a friend and looking into therapy and anger management programs. Yesterday, my daughters and I spent the day cleaning up the house. We scrubbed out the stains, but it felt like we were also trying to wash away the bad memories. We rearranged the furniture, hung up some new pictures, and it felt like we were taking a step forward. Anna has been opening up more. She's been talking about what she wants to do in the future, her dreams and aspirations. It's good to see her thinking about the future again. My daughters have been amazing, helping her with her studies and just being there for her. They've grown so much in these past few weeks, and I'm proud of them. As for me, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I've been reflecting on my actions, wondering if I could have done things differently. I've been talking to a counselor too, trying to work through my own issues. I never wanted to be like my father, and I was scared I had crossed a line with my son. But the counselor said that acknowledging our mistakes is the first step to making things right. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.